Okay. So the general question is, it's like, what are context modes and tags? What's the difference between them? And how do you use them? So contexts are basically the thing at the top of a .talon file that determines when it's active. So some Talon files will have nothing at the top before the dash, right? So this is keys.talon. What that means is it will be active in command mode. Some Talon files, so let's look up here, right? This is my Emacs Talon file, and it's going to be active whenever the app is Emacs, right? So a context is just a name for, this thing, the thing at the top of a Talon file. You can also use contexts in Python files where they essentially serve the same purpose. So, right, I make a context with the context function, and then I tell it, oh, match when the app is Emacs. So this is doing exactly the same thing as this. And then in a Talon file, everything below the dash applies only in the context above the dash. In a Python file, basically, you have to call methods on the object that you've created that has this thing, and then it will only apply in that context. So I call various methods on context. So like all of the things in this class will only be active in this context, which is when Emacs is being used. Right. So that's a very brief introduction to contexts. Modes and tags are two sort of more specific features that you can match on in contexts, right? So contexts are how you tell Talon, when the body of a Talon file should be active. Modes and tags are two things that can be referred to from contexts. So I'll start with modes. By default, if you don't say anything about a mode in a context, it only applies in command mode, right? So there's a sort of implicit mode command hiding here, right? If you do, so what modes are is basically a set of things that Talon keeps around, and it remembers whether each one is active or not active, right? So if you go into the Talon REPL, which I'm in here, and you call scope.get mode, it will tell you all of the modes that are currently active. Nope, that can't be right because oh, right. No, that is correct. I'm currently not in command mode, I'm in sleep mode. So if I turn command mode on, Talon wake, Talon sleep, you'll see that the sleep mode went away and the command mode became active. So the most important modes that are built into Talon are sleep, command, and dictation, and they sort of do what you would expect, right? And the key thing about modes is that they sort of stick around, right? Like if you activate them, then they stay activated. If you deactivate them, they stop being activated, right? So what's a good way to demonstrate this? Just the stuff we just showed about modes. Let's go into a test file and make a example command. Oops. Right. So by default, this command will be active in command mode. Talon wake, simple test, Talon sleep. But let's say I say mode sleep. Oops. Then this will be active only in sleep mode and not in command mode. Simple test. So you'll notice that I didn't need to wake Talon up for that to work. And if I just say simple test, it will recognize it. So you want to be careful with things defined in mode sleep. Similarly, you can do mode dictation. You can do mode all. All is a mode that's active literally all the time, right? And so on. And you can turn modes on and off. So, nope, modes.talon. Right. I've probably put these elsewhere. Yeah, so here we can see an example of turning modes on and off explicitly, right? So this file is active whenever we're not in sleep mode, right? And it has commands for switching to dictation mode or command mode, and they work just by calling mode.disable and mode.enable, which turn modes on or off, right? So that's a simple example of how you actually change modes inside a Talon file. Okay, so that's roughly what modes are. So, okay, mode sleep. This says that all of the things in this file are only active if the sleep mode is on, right? This adjusts various settings while sleep mode is on, right? Which are mostly, I think, disabling various things, like disabling the pop click or whatever. I don't actually think I use either of these. And this just says, hey, any phrase that you say, it will do nothing by default. This is a weird thing that is necessary because Talon's speech recognition models try really hard to hear what you've said as one of the legitimate commands. And so if you don't have this, but you do have commands that wake Talon up, it will try really hard to hear what you said as a command that wakes Talon up. So this makes it not do that. And that's it. So any more specific questions about this file? So if we wanted to add another mode, right, we could do it in a Talon file. Let's go back to test.py, right? So like with most things, you will declare it using a module. So I think it will be like this. So I don't know, let's call it presentation. And then let's try test.talon, barrel this, right? And what was it? Right. Mode.enable presentation. So that'll turn on presentation mode. The problem with this is, first off, that we won't have a way to get out of presentation. Well, okay. Actually, let's just try that for now. And then let's say in presentation mode, we gain a command called that. Right. Scope.get. Right. Okay. Talon wake. Presentation mode. Welcome back. Presentation mode. Presentation mode. Okay, so that worked to enable the mode. And now I should be able to say simple test, junk, simple test, Simple test. Left, right, right. So, okay, just making a mode was sort of as easy as that. But now we want to actually make it, you know, do the thing we're interested in. So the problem is mode.enable, enabling a mode doesn't disable any other modes, right? And so to make all of our commands stuff go away, we need to disable all those other modes. So we probably want to disable junk round string word command, slap pebble mode disable, round string word dictation, slap pebble mode disable, round string word sleep, disk Dexter, phrase end presentation mode, finish decal bar second, pebble mode disable, round string pebble user presentation, push pebble mode enable round string word command, tail kiss odd disk. Go 3 push above phrase simple test over declare string hello word hello disk. Presentation mode. Okay, so now I should be able to say things without it picking up. For example, phrase hello world. Right, so it's not recognizing anything. So now I should be able to say simple test. Yeah, and it recognized it. So that shows we are actually in presentation mode. And if I say, oops, so it just heard what I said as end presentation mode. Okay, which you can see from it starting to wake up. So for me, it would additionally be necessary to make it hear ordinary phrases. So angle word phrase, tail declare word skip round, disk, go for caret tail left dollar, disk, Dexter second, presentation mode, simple test, simple test. Okay, so I should be able to say things about presentation mode without it mishearing me now. For example, I should be able to say end presentation mode and it won't, because I need to say it with pauses before and after it. End presentation mode, scratch, Talon sleep. Okay, so I think that's most of what you need to do to implement a simple presentation mode. I'm not sure this is the best way to do it. There's something where you can sort of resume. There's some trick that Talon uses that GNOME uses to resume whatever mode was active before you went into sleep mode. You could probably try doing that here, but I've just had it, you know, go back into command mode. But yeah, I think this is a simple presentation mode implementation, because the only commands that will be active are the ones in this file. If you're in presentation mode, the only commands that will be active are these ones and the ones that are declared with mode all. So let's actually take a quick look. How many commands are there that are command declared in mode all? Looks like only the ones in modes.talon. So yeah, if you wanted to disable those, I think you might have to disable the all mode, which I'm not even sure whether you can do. But does that...
Yeah, there's a way you have to write not mode For example, for me, I'm using finger way of doing it, and at the beginning, there is no mode all, but not mode user presentation.
Yeah, you could do that. All right.
So mode all is, these commands are available everywhere all the time.
Yeah, that's the intent.
And not mode is, these commands are available everywhere all the time except when you're in this particular mode.
Yep, that's exactly right. What are tags? Tags are also like modes in that you can use them to determine whether a file is active or not, but unlike modes, tags don't stick around. So you can't turn a tag on and then just leave it on. A tag is always on because there's something supporting it. So let's say I have in here a tag. What's a good tag? Terminal, I think, right? So actually, let's use tag user.get. No, all right, let's actually create a fake tag. Module equals module round slap second word mod scratch brief module point word tag round stringer test disk. All right, so I've now defined a test tag, I think, or a user.test tag. And this and this command should only be active when the user.test tag is active, which means currently it won't. The way that you make tags active is you have some context in which you state that they are active. So one thing I could do is I could have another Talon file, which just asserts that the tag user.test is active. So this means in any context, make user.test active. And so we should be able to say simple test, clear line, simple test. Right, so yeah, so if we take this away, on the other hand, now it will not run. So simple test, right? So a tag will be active as long as there's some context that activates it. And other contexts, like this one up here, can then ask, is the tag active or not? But there's no way to turn a tag on in a way that persists for a while like there is to turn a mode on. And there's no way to turn it off. It's on if there's some file that declares that it's active. So it may not be obvious when you would want to use tags. I think the classic example is the terminal tag, right? So, oops, right. So I here have a file that, is active whenever I'm running an app which contains the name terminal, and it asserts the terminal tag. And this is useful because I can then have a file full of things that will work in any terminal, right? Not just in one particular app, right? So you can have multiple different apps. So let's try searching for that. Let's try searching for things which activate the tag terminal. Whoops, regex syntax. Right, so there are some. So if we go to iterm, nope. We'll see that it also asserts the tag terminal. So this is a way to have a file, right? Down here I have a file that depends upon, that asks, is the tag terminal active? And these commands will be active, you know, both in iterm, if I happen to use iterm, and in any terminal app on Linux. So it's a way of basically adding some indirection, of having some commands that are active in a more general context than, you know, some particular app, right? I mean, you can activate a tag in, you know, any context you like, right? Like this says this tag is active in this context, right? The common use case is that you have a tag that, you know, is for many different applications if they support some common feature, right? So here it's terminals. There are many terminal applications, but they all, you know, should have certain commands available. Another example is tabs. Many different applications have tabs. So there's I think a user.tabs, right? So this is a file full of commands that are useful for applications that have tabs, and then various different applications like Firefox and Chrome and various text editors will declare that they support the tabs tag. I've given some example use cases for modes and tags, but I think they're not defined by what their use cases are. They're defined by their behavior. And the behavior of modes is that they stick around. You activate them, and then they stay there until you deactivate them, right? Tags, on the other hand, are ephemeral. You can't say that a tag is now active by running, you know, tag.enable, right? It won't stick around. It'll only be active if there is a file, right, that says that it's active in that context, right?